my hospital stay. Gwendolyn tried to buy groceries that Friday, and the card got rejected. She called me 17 times between 8 p.m. and midnight. I did not pick up. Not because I was avoiding her, but because I wanted her to sit with the same feeling I had for 3 weeks in that hospital. Reaching out to someone who was supposed to be your partner and getting nothing back. Saturday morning I answered, and I was not calm. I was not the bigger person. I had been staring at a hospital ceiling for 22 days while my wife told me to die fast, and my stepson said nobody missed me. So when Gwendolyn immediately started demanding to know why the card was not working, I told her the card was canceled because I did not see the point in funding a household that wished me dead. She went quiet for a few seconds and then pivoted. Started telling me she had been stressed, that Kyle was acting out at school, that she was handling everything alone. I told her she was alone by choice because I was right here 30 minutes away, and she chose not to come. She said the hospital made her uncomfortable. I told her being told to die by my own wife made me uncomfortable. Then she changed tactics. Said she never meant those words, that she was frustrated and venting, and I took it too literally. I asked her if Kyle also did not mean it when he told me they did not miss me, or if she coached an 8-year-old to say that to a man with a broken leg and cracked ribs. She did not answer that. She just kept circling back to the money. Mortgage due next week. Kyle needing shoes for school. Every sentence was about what she needed from me. Not once did she ask about my leg. Not once did she say sorry. I ended the call. Now here is what matters for everything that comes next. The mortgage was in my name. The deed was in my name. Gwendolyn had zero legal claim to the property. We had been married under 3 years, and in my state, the house I bought before marriage with inherited money was separate property. I confirmed this through a consultation Haley set up for me by phone, while I was still hospitalized. I was not guessing. I knew exactly where I stood. Week 4, I told my doctor I wanted to leave. He was against it. Said I needed 2 more weeks, but I signed discharge papers against medical advice. Haley picked me up Wednesday afternoon with a rented cargo van. We went to her apartment first. I showered, changed into real clothes for the first time in a month, and laid out the plan. Thursday morning, 7:45 a.m. Right after Gwendolyn dropped Kyle at school, Haley drove me to my house. I still had my keys because it never occurred to Gwendolyn that the man who owned the house would be the one walking out. I was not breaking in. I was entering my own property. We had 4 hours before school ended, and I used every minute. I took my furniture, couch from 2019, the bedroom set, kitchen table, TV, my tools, winter clothes, books, bathroom supplies, Killian's crate and food, and vet records. Killian was there when we arrived, and I want to be honest. Seeing my dog after a month was the hardest part of this whole thing. He was thinner than when I left, and his water bowl was almost empty. That told me everything about how much Gwendolyn cared about anything that belonged to me. I loaded the van in 3 trips. Haley helped with the heavy pieces despite me being on crutches with a leg that was not fully healed. I left Gwendolyn's belongings untouched, and those rooms completely intact. Her clothes in the closet. I took nothing that was hers. But everything that was mine turned out to be about 90% of the household, because she brought almost nothing into this marriage except Kyle, and an attitude. Last thing I did was tape an envelope to the kitchen counter. Inside was a printed letter stating I was the sole owner of the property. She had 30 days to vacate, and I would be filing for divorce. I included the attorney's name Haley had connected me with. I wanted it in writing so there was no confusion. I loaded Killian into the van, locked the front door, and drove to a furnished room I had arranged to rent from a coworker named Lana, who had a detached in-law unit behind her house. Cheap, quiet, and nobody knew the address except Haley and Lana. Gwendolyn got home that afternoon. She called me 43 times and left 9 voice messages. I listened to everyone. The first 3 were confusion, asking where the furniture was, asking if they had been robbed. The 4th was when she found my letter. 5 through 9 were rage. She called me every name possible, said I traumatized Kyle by taking everything, accused me of being vindictive, said her mother was going to get involved, told me I would regret this. She said I had no right to do this after she gave me 2 years of her life. 2 years of her life. Like she was the one who sacrificed something. I saved every message, but I did not call back yet. The 30-day notice was just the beginning, and she needed to understand this was not a negotiation. I had 2 more moves planned, and she was not going to see either one coming. This man left the hospital against medical advice on crutches with a half-healed leg to go repossess his own life. And somehow Gwendolyn is the one acting like the victim. 43 calls and 9 voicemails, and not one of them was an apology. It went confusion, then rage, then guilt-tripping. That is the exact playbook of somebody who never imagined consequences would arrive at their front door. And I need to talk about the dog for a second because that detail destroyed me. Killian was thinner, and his water bowl was almost empty. She could not even keep the man's dog fed and watered. This woman had access to his bank account, lived in his house rent-free, drove his car, and could not walk 10 feet to fill a water bowl for an animal that depended on her. That is not neglect. That is a character statement. And the voicemails? She gave me 2 years of her life. 2 years of what exactly? 2 years of speakerphone conversations where she ranked him below her absolute ex. 2 years of teaching her son that the man buying his shoes was furniture. She invested nothing. She brought nothing. She contributed nothing. And now she was standing in an empty house screaming about what she lost. Gwendolyn did not lose a husband that day. She lost an audience for a performance she thought would run forever. Update 2. Things escalated way beyond what I expected, so I need to get this down. Thank you to everyone following this, and especially the people who told me to stay the course, because there were moments I almost second-guessed myself. Almost. 3 days after I cleared the house, Gwendolyn's mother showed up at my job site parking lot. Gwendolyn knew the company name, so it was not hard to find. She waited by my truck at lunch and started in immediately. Told me I was a coward for sneaking in while her daughter was gone. And I destroyed Kyle's sense of security that a real man would handle this face-to-face. I told her a real wife would have visited her husband in the hospital once in 4 weeks. She switched to saying Gwendolyn had nowhere to go. Not afford rent. That Kyle's schools in that district and moving would wreck his year. I told her that was not my problem, and her daughter had 30 days for the letter. She called me heartless. I told her that her daughter told me to die fast, so maybe heartless runs in the family. But what she said about Kyle's school did bother me. Kyle was 8. He did not choose this. His mother taught him to disrespect me, and his biological father, Logan, was barely around. So I told Gwendolyn that evening, the first time I initiated contact since the hospital, told her I would give her an extra 2 weeks beyond the 30 days so Kyle could finish the school quarter without disruption. And I need you all to understand what happened next because it shows exactly who she is. Instead of saying thank you, she took it as an opening, started telling me we should sit down, that maybe we could work things out, that she had been thinking about what she said in the hospital. She asked me to come back to the house to discuss it like adults. I told her there was nothing to discuss. The divorce papers were being drawn up. The house was going on the market. She lost it. Said I could not sell the house while she lived there. That she had rights as my spouse. That her attorney told her I could not just evict her. I asked what attorney since 2 days ago. Her mother said she could not afford groceries. She mumbled through something about a free legal aid consultation. I told her to have her attorney contact mine. Now here is number 2. I filed to have the Subaru Outback returned to me. Gwendolyn had been driving it for 3 years like it was hers, but title, registration, and insurance were all my name. My attorney sent a certified letter demanding the vehicle back within 14 days before I would report unauthorized use. When she got that letter, she called screaming, asking how she was supposed to get Kyle to school, get to work, live her life. I told her the same way I was supposed to live when she said I was not worth the gas money. That shut her down. Then she tried negotiating. Said she would agree to a quick divorce if I'd let her keep the car and gave her 3 months in the house. I told her she had no bargaining chips because she did not own anything she was trying to negotiate with. Then Logan entered the picture. Gwendolyn called Kyle's biological father and told him I was kicking her and Kyle out with nowhere to go. Logan, who saw his son maybe 5 times in the past year, suddenly had opinions. He texted me from Gwendolyn's phone since he did not have my number, telling me I had no right to put his son on the street. I responded once, told him Kyle was his son, and if he was so concerned, maybe he should have been paying child support and showing up more than 5 times a year. Told him Gwendolyn had been covering for his absence the entire marriage, making excuses, refusing to take him to court, and now he wanted to play concerned father because it was convenient. He did not respond. Gwendolyn called the next morning and for the first time, not yelling. She asked me, almost carefully, if I had really told Logan about the child support situation. I said yes. She asked why, because now Logan was angry at her for not receiving support, saying she made him look bad by letting another man pay for his kid. And right there, I confirmed what I had suspected the entire marriage. Gwendolyn had been protecting Logan all along, never pursued support because she did not want conflict with him, kept his photos up, dressed up when he came around, made excuses for his absence. All because she was still holding on to the idea of Logan while married to me. I was the placeholder, the man who funded the life she wanted with someone else. I told her I knew, told her I had known for a long time, and I told her the next move was already in motion. And the Logan reveal just pulled the entire curtain down on this marriage and exposed the full architecture of what Gwendolyn was running. She had a 2-man system operating. Logan was the man she wanted, and this guy was the man she needed. and she kept both of them in the dark just enough to make it work. She never took Logan to court for child support, not because she was too proud. That was always a lie, but because pursuing him legally would create conflict, and she could not afford conflict with a man she was actually emotionally invested in. So she let her husband pay for everything and told Logan it was voluntary. She was running PR for a deadbeat dad while her actual husband was footing the bill and being told he was not Logan, but he pays the bill. And the moment this guy pulled one thread, just one, by telling Logan the truth, the entire thing unraveled. Logan turned on her, because even he felt used when he found out. That is how manipulative this situation was. She managed to make both men feel like pawns. And the line about trying to negotiate with assets she does not own? She tried to trade the car and the house for a quick divorce like she was holding cards. She was holding nothing. She was sitting at a poker table with an empty hand, trying to bluff a man who already saw every card she had. And the heartless runs in the family line to the mother-in-law? I felt that one in my spine. This man was quiet for 3 years. Took every insult, every humiliation, every speakerphone conversation where he was reduced to a utility bill. And now every single response he gives is a surgical strike. No yelling, no drama, just facts delivered at the exact moment they do the most damage. Final update. This is the last one. I know a lot of you have been waiting, and I appreciate every single person who stuck with this. Here is how it all landed. So after I told Gwendolyn, I knew she had been holding on to Logan the entire marriage. She did not deny me. She did not even try. She just asked me what I wanted from her. Like I was the one being unreasonable. Like I was the one who needed to state my demands. I told her I wanted the car back. I wanted her out of my house by the extended deadline. And I wanted the divorce finalized without a fight. She said she needed to think about it, which was her way of stalling because she had no options, and she knew it. The car came back first. She drove the Subaru to Haley's apartment complex on day 12 of the 14-day deadline and left the keys under the floor mat. Did not call, did not text, just dropped it off. I had Haley check the condition, and the inside was trash. Fast food wrappers everywhere, a scratch along the passenger door that was not there before. The gas tank was completely empty. She could not even return what was mine without making a statement about it. I took photos of everything with my attorney. Meanwhile, Logan and Gwendolyn were at each other's throats. After I told Logan she had been shielding him from child support for 3 years, he started demanding answers. Not because he cared about Kyle, but because he was embarrassed that another man had been paying for his kid, and he did not even know the full extent. Gwendolyn had been telling Logan that I volunteered to pay for everything out of generosity, that she never asked me to. That was a lie. And Logan figured it out when I forwarded him a screenshot of text where Gwendolyn explicitly asked me to cover Kyle's daycare because Logan would not. Haley had backed up my phone before I went to the hospital, so I still had everything. Logan turned on Gwendolyn completely after that. Told her she manipulated both of them, and that he was done covering for her too. Suddenly the man she had been protecting for 3 years wanted nothing to do with her. The eviction deadline hit on a Saturday. Gwendolyn had not found a new place. She called me Friday night, and for the first time in this entire thing, she was not angry. She was not scheming. She was just asking. She asked me if there was any part of me that remembered what we had at the beginning. She talked about the first year, before Kyle started copying her attitude, before her mother got involved, before everything went wrong. She said she made mistakes, and she knew that, but she did not think I was the kind of man who would leave his family for nothing. I told her she was not my family. She was a woman who told me to die when I was at my lowest, and then coached my stepson to twist the knife. I told her family does not do that, and whatever we had at the beginning died the second she said those words from the hospital phone. She asked where she was supposed to go. I told her to call Logan. Saturday morning, my attorney confirmed Gwendolyn had not filed any legal challenge to the eviction. She had no grounds. The house was separate property. The notice period was legally sufficient, and she had no financial claim beyond what would be settled in the divorce. I drove to the house that afternoon with Haley to do a walkthrough before listing it. When we pulled up, Gwendolyn's mother's car was in the driveway. They were loading boxes into the trunk and back seat. Kyle was sitting on the porch steps with a backpack next to him. I'm not going to pretend that was easy, but I kept driving, parked down the block, and waited until they left. The house was mostly empty. She had taken her clothes, Kyle's things, some kitchen items I did not care about. She left one thing on the counter, a framed photo of her and Kyle with Logan before I'd ever met her, the one she used to keep in Kyle's room. She left it face down. I threw it in the trash. Haley came by the house the next morning to help me clean before the listing photos, and that is when she showed me the video. A neighbor 2 doors down had a doorbell camera, and Haley knew her from when I used to live there. The neighbor sent Haley the clip without anyone asking because she saw the whole thing. The video showed Gwendolyn the day I cleared the house, standing in the driveway screaming at the empty rooms through the open front door. She was yelling that I took everything, even the dog, that I was going to pay for this, that she gave me the best years of her life. Kyle was standing behind her holding his backpack and just watching. I have watched that video probably 15 times. Not because I enjoy it, because every time I start to feel guilty about any of this, every time I start wondering if I went too far, I remember what she said to me in that hospital phone. Not worth the gas money. Die fast or heal quick. We do not miss you. 3 sentences that ended a marriage, and I made sure to understood exactly what those sentences cost her. The house sold 5 weeks later. The divorce finalized 2 months after that. Gwendolyn moved in with her mother. Logan disappeared again. Kyle started at a new school in his grandmother's district. I am writing this from Lana's in-law unit with Gillian sleeping at my feet. My leg healed. I went back to work. I am not okay, but I am not pretending to be. I took everything, even the dog, and I would do it all again. That image of Kyle sitting on the porch steps with his backpack is gonna live in my head for a while, and I think it lives in this guy's head too. Which is why he watches that doorbell video 15 times, not to gloat, but to remind himself why he had to do this, because part of him still feels like a monster for it. And that right there is the difference between him and Gwendolyn. She never once questioned whether she went too far. Not when she told him to die. Not when she weaponized an 8-year-old. Not when she let his dog go hungry. She never lost a single minute of sleep wondering if she was the villain. But he does. He plays that video like a man on trial in his own head. And that guilt, that willingness to interrogate himself, is the exact proof that he is not the bad guy in this story. In Gwendolyn's last play, the nostalgia card on Friday night, do you remember what we had in the beginning? That is the last tool in the manipulation toolbox. When threats don't work, when guilt doesn't work, when the mother-in-law doesn't work, when Logan doesn't work, you pull out the memory of who you pretended to be before the mask came off, and you hope it's enough. It wasn't, because this man finally understood something a lot of people never figure out. Missing who someone pretended to be is not a reason to stay with who they actually are.